It is a one-time therapy for a lifetime or at least multiple years of therapeutic benefit.
Hi, I'm Akshay. I lead healthcare investments at Premji Invest. Today, I have Shankar Ramaswamy, the CEO and co-founder of Kriya Therapeutics, with me. Shankar, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll love to hear a few words about Kriya and yourself, and we can get started.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for having me, Akshay. So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Shankar Ramaswamy. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kriya Therapeutics, and we started the company back in late 2019. So it's been a really a fantastic journey since then. Just a brief word on Kriya. We are a gene therapy company that's focused on expanding the reach of gene therapy to tackle some of the most common chronic diseases that affect millions of people around the world. And as well, I'm sure we'll get into it today. There's a lot of technical and operational complexities to being able to do that well. And I think those are some of the problems that we've solved here at Korea.
Thank you so much, and super excited to learn more. Um, First of all, if I may just start about the motivation of the company, I mean, it's a very atypical build for a gene therapy company. The choice of therapeutic segments and the way you've gone about building this platform. So, where did this idea come from? What is the motivation to kind of build this kind of a gene therapy company?
Yeah, I mean, maybe to start with my own personal background. So I'm an MD. I went to medical school really with the intent to help people. I think that's why most people go to medicine to really help patients and eliminate suffering in those patients. I think for me, the draw was to be able to build new medicines for those patients. And that's something I was passionate about even before medical school, but certainly through medical school and afterward. And after medical school, I went into the biotech industry again to learn about how to develop new medicines for patients. My first foray into gene therapy was actually in my last company. And, reflecting on what gene therapy can actually achieve, it's quite remarkable just the magnitude of effect that you can have on patient lives with one-time therapies.
If you look back at how you've chosen the products to take to clinic and take forward, and the iterations to get there. What would you have done differently? What have been the learnings from things that haven't worked, and what has worked, and how does this position us from a building of portfolio over the next, let's say, 5 years?
I think the first focus of the company was on building a platform. So we were almost a contrarian in our approach to this. I think a lot of biotech is about spinning out one asset out of an academic group and then sprinting that asset forward, doing as little as possible to get it to a point of transaction with pharma. And so we did things differently. We wanted to build a lasting company that had a pipeline that we could drive all the way to commercialization. So we made the upfront investments that are very atypical for a biotech company. We invested in, for example, manufacturing infrastructure. These are very high expenditure, capital intensive, people intensive types of areas of development. And we did that even before we had products. And so we started the company with this platform first mindset. And I think in some ways in the early days that led us down the trap of thinking that it was all about the platform and just leveraging that platform in as many different ways as possible. And that produced a lot of good ideas, and frankly, it produced some ideas that weren't as good. And we have since become much more disciplined in our approach to pipeline expansion and advancement, where the first fundamental question that should be asked, whether it's a platform company or an individual asset company, is this product actually going to make a difference for patients? And is it something the market needs? It's probably true of any type of business in any industry. And I think given our sprint with the platform and getting it up and running, which is essential to gene therapy development, at times we skip that first step in the early days. So we kind of retraced our steps and did this from the, first core question is, does a patient actually need this? And is our product, if successful, truly differentiated from the standard of care? And so that is now true of all of our products. And so we're very excited about that potential.
When we think about gene therapy, it's always been limited to rare diseases. And when it comes to chronic and prevalent diseases, there's just a range of treatments available to them. Given this dynamic, do you see patients accepting gene therapy as a first line treatment or a choice of treatment, given the alternatives available?
It's a great question. I think it depends a lot on the disease that we're talking about and what those alternative options are, not just today, but what may be coming on the horizon. So, if you think about chronic disease, what does that actually mean? In most cases, it means the patient is going to have that disease for the rest of their life. So, it's very different than an acute disease. Let's say an active infection doesn't need a lifelong treatment, it needs a short course burst of antibiotics to clear the virus, right? It's very different than a chronic disease, which is something that after diagnosis, it's about managing that disease for the remainder of that patient's life. And, when it comes to some of these chronic diseases, it may not be the only disease that patient suffers from. It might be one of a constellation of diseases, each of which has a different medical or surgical management or lifestyle management to it. So it can be quite complex, especially as we live longer, to be able to manage all these different diseases. And this is where gene therapy can be a very important and appealing part of that puzzle. It is a one time therapy for a lifetime, or at least multiple years of therapeutic benefit. We're delivering DNA to the cells of the body, so those cells can themselves become biofactories to make the proteins. And so we think about the possibilities with gene therapy as almost untethering a patient from his or her medicine that they have to take chronically, whether it's every day, every week, every month for the rest of their life. Instead, it can be a one time therapy, at least for that particular aspect of their disease, so that it makes it a lot easier for them to manage other parts of their disease.
It's been a difficult environment in terms of capital availability for biotech over the last few years. What would be your advice to emerging startups in the space?
Yeah, I think a difficult funding environment's a double-edged sword. It's obviously difficult to raise money, and I feel very fortunate we have partners like you that were able to fund us in that environment. I think the flip side is it's a great time to be building a company if you can access that capital. And I almost think Kriya has grown up during various periods of chaos. The company was founded in late 2019. We did our Series A in May of 2020. So it was right when COVID was happening. And that was turbulent through that process, but also even building the company during COVID. I would say, we're in a biotech winter the last couple of years. So, we have built the company through all of that. And I think our ability to execute during that period of turbulence has created a tremendous separation between us and any potential competitors. So it's a fantastic time to build a company if you can really, find the capital. And I think that finding the capital actually forces you to partner with people who really, really believe in your vision. In a 2021 type of environment where it's very easy to raise money, anyone can fund your company, but only the people who really believe in your vision are going to be there during the tough market times. And I feel very fortunate that we've aligned with investors like you guys that have conviction in the company, irrespective of broader macroeconomic arc.
That's amazing. Shankar, thank you so much for doing this.
No, this is great. I love all of our conversations. So fun to do it in podcast format too.